Hi guys, and welcome to a new video on Sonal's life. Now, we had the most emotional, turbulent video last time because the New Beginning show in Osaka saw Hiroki Goto finally win the big one. He beat Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship for the first time in his over 20-year career on his 9th challenge, 9 years after his last try at the belt against Kazuchika Okada. And if we're on that high now, we have got, well, it's going to be a busy March, okay? So obviously we've got coming up the Fantastic Mania shows, which will always be great, so make sure to go and watch them. We then have the anniversary show, which we're going to have Tanahashi facing Hiroki Goto, as we always do, a big main event for the anniversary show. This one's one for the fans. And then we are straight in to the first tournament of the year with the New Japan Cup. And who would I be if I am not here with a full preview? I'm going to look at the brackets, the matches to look out for, and of course my very wrong opinions. However, my out of the box idea of, well, I mean, I've been doing quite well, haven't I? Naito winning the G1 a few years ago, then Zack, and then Hiroki Goto. So maybe this year will be right as well. So let's get going. As always, I'm going to start by reading out the list of participants, and then we'll look a bit more closely. So on the left block field, we have Yota Tsuji facing Evil. David Finlay has a bye. Yuya Uemura facing Sanada. Yoshihashi has a bye. Oiwa facing Chase Owens. Zack Sabre Jr. has a bye. Gabe Kidd facing Ren Narita, and Taichi has a bye. Now, this is all very interesting. Now we're going to start running through this. So Yota Tsuji versus Evil, that all makes sense because if everyone remembers at the New Beginning show, so again, I don't know how they're going to try and make us think that this is not intended. At the end of the New Beginning show, during the match between Tsuji and Gabe, Evil basically came out and hitting everything is evil on Yota Tsuji, so that's interesting. The biggest thing here is obviously the bye for David Finlay. Now, there was a lot of controversy, well, not controversy, but a lot of rumours of David Finlay leaving after his contract had expired in January. Obviously, that's not true. And I hate to say it, but I think Evil is going to win because, again, at the New Beginning show, Evil basically said War Dog was no longer part of the Bullet Club. So I think this is going to start a feud with those two. We then have Uemura and Sanada. Again, this is linking back, everything quite nicely links back to the New Beginning show, which means you should watch it ahead of the tournament. So obviously after Sanada beat Taichi in their match, Uemura came out, and obviously he's been injured since the G1. So he came and was basically like, I'm coming after you now, blah, blah, blah. Because obviously Sanada betrayed us all. And he specifically betrayed Uemura. I don't know why Yoshihashi has a bye, but you will take that. We love Yoshihashi in this house. Team Bishamon. We then have Oiwa facing Chase Owens. There's really no link to that, but the interesting thing here is Zack Sabre Jr. has a bye. So are they going to give us early Oiwa versus Zack Sabre Jr., 2 members of TMDK? That would be something I'm very interested about. Then the final one is Gabe Kidd versus Ren Narita with Taichi as a bye now. Again, I don't get the Taichi bye. It's really weird because sometimes, and in the past, they've had buys which have gone by like, if you've got a championship and things like that. This doesn't seem to work like that. But again, Gabe versus Ren is very interesting because, again, and I keep blasting this off like a broken record, New Beginning. There was obviously the whole beef with the Bullet Club and War Dogs with House of Torture. But in the post-match comments, obviously, after Narita went after Gabe was saying, we were in the dojo, like the similar time and things like that. So that will be interesting. We then get on to the second side. So the right side, we have El Phantasmo facing Great-O-Khan, with Shota Umino having a bye. Tetsuya Naito facing Callum Newman, with Jeff Cobb having a bye. Tomohiro Ishii facing Drilla Maloney, with TJP having a bye. Bolton Oleg facing returning Bad Luck Fale, with Shingo Takagi having a bye. Now, again, let's go down this methodologically. Can someone confirm whether I'm saying this right? Really, there's no direct link between ELP and Great-O-Khan. I think this will be a great match, depending how they work it. Again, the interesting thing is Shota Umino with the bye. Obviously, Shota and ELP are very close, but Shota and Great-O-Khan just had that amazing, well, I think it was an amazing match at New Beginnings, where obviously Great-O-Khan won and Shota shaved his hair. This section of the bracket is going to be very important specifically for Shota Umino, because we've been saying that he has been floundering, he's not picked up the results compared to the other Reiwa Musketeers. We don't include Narita in that, okay? We don't include Narita in that. But he's been picking up loss after loss, maybe not getting the support that everyone expected him to get. So in this match, I'm hoping for something new, like whoever comes out of this. I personally don't think that O-Khan will, just because we don't need to see Shota versus O-Khan again. But I think it'll be interesting to see that if ELP wins, does Shota stick with his good guy ways? The next one, Tetsuya Naito versus Callum Newman. Again, if you remember, I believe Callum actually pinned Tetsuya Naito at some point. This was very interesting, or maybe I'm completely wrong. But there is a history between Callum Newman and Tetsuya Naito. My brain cannot brain it at the moment, but there is something there. The most interesting thing here is Jeff Cobb having a bye. Similarly to David Finlay, there was a lot of talk of Jeff Cobb leaving New Japan. I mean, I don't understand where this has come from, because it was all based off comments that Jeff Cobb made. But funnily enough, like, if he was actually leaving, I don't think he'd make it that obvious. He also, as I mentioned, so he said that he wants to stay in New Japan, but there needs to be a change. There was also the Matane versus Sayonara thing that I spoke about in the last video, where obviously he said Matane, which is much more brief, less permanent way of saying goodbye to someone. So that'll be interesting to see. Whoever wins that facing Jeff Cobb is phenomenal. We then have Tomohiro Ishii versus Drilla Maloney. Now, this is great because, I mean, Drilla's not specifically confirmed he's gone up to heavyweight, but him and then having TJP with the bye worked very well, because we have this open weight nature of the New Japan Cup, which has become more common in more recent years, especially during the pandemic and things. I love that Ishii is back for a tournament. He obviously wasn't in the, I believe he wasn't in the G1 last year. The G1 was amazing last year because of like all the new names, and this year has done very well. Drilla versus Ishii is going to be a phenomenal match. You have two heavy hitting men. Two men who I believe, because we always know Ishii is a very big player in the never openweight division. If Drilla Maloney wants to continue on that, that is going to be great. And whoever has the win in that is going to have a great match against TJP. And then we finish with an interesting one. So Bolton Oleg versus Bad Luck Fale. I can't tell you that I'm going to be excited for this, because honestly, I don't think I am. This match. You guys know my thoughts on Bolton Oleg. I have never really been fond of the guy. I think he's an amazing wrestler, and I admire everything he has done, moving from his own sport into professional wrestling and his dedication to the Japanese culture. But there is something about his personality and his character which just doesn't work. When you're a big guy like that, you have an ability to be stuck in this very small pigeonhole. And I don't think Oleg has that issue with his style and things. But his personality just makes him very bland to watch. And no offense, putting a big guy who's kind of bland against Bad Luck Fale, who I think in a sense is kind of the opposite. Bad Luck Fale has a great personality, a great character, which is obviously all built from the Rogue Army, Bullet Club, the years in New Japan. Whereas maybe over the years his style isn't as great or as interesting to watch. So I don't know how I feel. But on the plus, the person with the buy in this is Shingo Takagi. So, like, I assume that Bolton Oleg is going to get the win, and we are going to get a banger. We are going to get an amazing match with all Bolton Oleg and Shingo, and hopefully, and I keep seeing glimmers, because, like, for example, in Oleg's match against Takeshita in New Beginning, I saw glimpses of someone who can be amazing. So maybe he just needs to step away from Hontai, and we always say this, don't we? It won't work wonders for Hanare. Need him to step back into this match with Shingo and find out who he is. So that was a quick overrun of like all the competitors and just little points to think about. Now let's talk about matches I am looking forward to. Not just, for example, like in the rounds, but also what could happen. So, while I don't think it's going to happen, I'd love to see Yota Tsuji versus David Finlay again. Obviously, we had that in the G1 and following that for the global title. So yeah, the match at Wrestle Kingdom's finals. I'd love to see that again, but I don't think it is. Tetsuya Naito versus Callum Newman, I think is going to be great. I genuinely think that, like, it's going to show, because obviously Callum has come back from injury, so I believe that it is going to showcase how far he's come, not since he first debuted as the Empire's young lion, but in the years, like, that he's had the practice with some of the biggest stars in New Japan, but also, like, his time off and things. I said Ishii versus Drilla Maloney is going to be a big meat fest. A meat fest of excitement that I am looking forward to. And I think it's going to, like, I'm not sure actually where the match is going to be, but the vibrations of the, like, any chops that's going to happen is going to be amazing. I think that again, this is all basing off what I think is going to happen. So maybe we should go to this. So I think it's going to be Evil versus David Finlay. And I think at the end I might post, like, the full brackets of what I think. Sanada versus Yoshihashi? I know, this is controversial. Don't ask me my reasoning. I'm going off the top of my head here. Oyuwa versus Zack Sabre Jr. So obviously, if Oyuwa versus Zack Sabre Jr. happens, that is gonna be phenomenal. You have the man who, and I know people have had their grievances about Zack Sabre Jr.'s reign. Like, it was too short, they didn't like it, blah, blah, blah. Zack has done so much for New Japan over the past few years. Since he came, but more specifically in the years of the pandemic and with all the Gaikoku Jins leaving. And Oyuwa, since coming back, while maybe not as, like, standout as maybe people like Fujita, who obviously has won the IWGP Junior Tag titles, being the youngest IWGP winner, and then obviously he's challenged Despy, Oyuwa has still made his mark. From obviously his time in the Nogoi Dojo, then going over to Noah. And obviously Zack has a history with Noah. So to see them two tie up together would be amazing. And I think would be a standout match. If we get, and I think the next one will be Gabe Kidd versus Taichi. So I think Gabe will be Narita. I think Gabe versus Taichi would be an amazing match. Because they're two guys who I think are very similar. In the sense that Taichi started off as a heel but has now gone babyface. But since his feud with Sanada, we've seen that passion coming out of him. Gabe started as a heel. He's now a babyface, I guess, with the crowds and stuff, but still has those heel antics. So it'll be interesting to see that. I have El Phantasmo beating Shota Umino. So that I have Callum Newman beating Tetsuya Naito. Because I see him facing Jeff Cobb, because for the last few months, I think specifically like since last year, there's been a lot of uneasiness within the Empire. So there's been issues and people calling each other captain, losing titles, winning titles. So maybe Callum Newman versus Jeff Cobb could see an interesting twist or maybe an development over what is going to happen within the faction. I see Drilla beating Ishii to then face TJP, and I see Oleg to face Shingo. And then that will lead us to the semi-finals and then the finals. Now, who are we going to see? So I've got to pick two names from each side. So I see for the left side, I see David Finlay facing... Ooh, this one's a hard one. Oyuwa. Let's say that. David Finlay facing Oyuwa. And David Finlay's going to make it to the final. On the right side of the bracket, I see... Ooh. Jeff Cobb and Shingo Takagi coming out, with Jeff Cobb making it to the final. And so the final, there's literally no logic with my decisions here, but you know that this is never thing. Like, I literally, this is coming from the person who spent like 4 years of her life watching New Japan, and every single G1 she picked Jay to win, just for the shits and giggles of it. So I have the final being David Finlay versus Jeff Cobb, and I have David Finlay winning. I think actually a lot of people have David Finlay winning this cup, just because obviously now it seems obviously he's sticking with New Japan. Finlay has come on one of the biggest journeys I have ever seen. I loved him as a babyface. I keep repeating this in my videos, but if anyone knows me, they'll know that the reason I stuck to New Japan was because I watched the feud between Jay and Finlay for the US title in 2018, and I was hooked on New Japan. He obviously then was amazing in Finjuice. We then saw him flounder a bit, then he became Bullet Club, and I was the biggest critic of Finlay as the leader of the Bullet Club, mainly because I had so much investment and love for Finlay as a wrestler. But in the last few months, and especially after his 2 matches at Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, obviously with Suji and Brody King, he has cemented himself as the top Gaikokujin heel if he wants to continue as a heel. Obviously, the War Dogs seem to have gone babyface. But I think that even like Western fans and New Japan fans are falling in love with Finlay again and like realizing this man means business. Because remember, he has a connection to the New Japan fans, albeit he is Bullet Club. But he started anew, I guess, went to the dojo despite having a big name, did the matches and things like that, and worked his way through. So I think that Finlay would be an amazing person to win the New Japan Cup. And it would, like, as long as it means that there's no one like House of Torture and stuff, and do you know what I mean? So with literally no other reasoning apart from I think Finlay has showcased so much potential in the past year, and other people seem to agree. I believe that Finlay is going to win. But again, on the other side, like I said, I've had Jeff Cobb in the final because Jeff Cobb, since he made his debut in New Japan, when he was doing like dual contracts because he was like working in New Japan when he was in Ring of Honor, is again another person who's done so much for New Japan and someone who everyone thinks should have reached the top of the mountain by now. But I really hope that these two guys, who I think have been massively underrated in New Japan but have showcased their dedication to the brand and to the company, get their push. I feel like the G1 was the era of like pushing the new stars who I think have now been established in a sense. Especially if you look at like Tsuji, Uemura, Fujita, Oiwa. Here, I think it is the time to now, as we've seen with Goto, try something new in the sense of the guys who have been around for a while but who are still at the peak of the game. Like hell, Finlay and Cobb are still very young, still very strong with their moves. Try and now get those guys to main event level status so you can now rely on them along with the new guys. So yeah, that was my probably very wrong predictions for the New Japan Cup. Now it's your turn to let me know. In the comments on social media at wrestling_chat, let me know your thoughts on like your predictions, the matches you're looking forward to, what you think of the tournament participants overall. I think like aside from a few names that I'm like, why do they need to be in it? This is another very strong set of participants. They're not just having the random people that they can. Like obviously there's no Yano and like they seem to have concentrated to the top stars. So I think it's going to be very exciting. Again, let me know your thoughts. It's going to be a busy March. Obviously, we're going to have Fantastica Mania coming up. Or it's already started by the time this video is posted. The anniversary show and then New Japan Cup. So New Japan are continuing to treat us. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and you're excited to watch the New Japan Cup and see what 2025 New Japan has in store. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!